2, Chapter 47 of The Broad Highway by John Jeffery Farnol. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Simon Evers. Book 2, Chapter 47, in which this history is ended. A bright room, luxuriously appointed. A great wide bed with carved posts and embroidered canopy. Between the curtained windows a tall oak press with grotesque heads carved thereon. Heads that leered and gaped and scowled at me. But the bed and the room and the oak press were all familiar, and the grotesque heads had leered and gaped and frowned at me before, and haunted my boyish dreams many and many a night. And now I lay between sleeping and waking, staring dreamily at all these things, till roused by a voice nearby, and starting up, broad awake, beheld Sir Richard. "Deuce take you, Peter!" he exclaimed. "I say, the devil fly away with you, my boy! Curse me! A nice pickle you've made of yourself, with your infernal revolutionary notions, your digging and blacksmithing, your walking tours." "Where is she, Sir Richard?" I broke in. "Pray, where is she?" "She?" he returned, scratching his chin with the corner of a letter he held. "She? She whom I saw last night." "You were asleep last night, and the night before." "Asleep? Then how long have I been here?" 3 days, Peter." "And where is she? Surely I have not dreamed it. Where is Charmain?" "She went away this morning." "Gone? Where to?" "Gad, Peter, how should I know?" But seeing the distress in my face, he smiled and tendered me the letter. "She left this for Peter when he awoke, and I've been waiting for Peter wake all the morning." Hastily I broke the seal, and unfolding the paper with tremulous hands, read, "Dearest, noblest, and most disbelieving of Peters, oh, did you think you could hide your hateful suspicion from me who know you so well? I felt it in your kiss, in the touch of your strong hand. I saw it in your eyes. Even when I told you the truth and begged you to believe me, even then, deep down in your heart, you thought it was my hand that had killed Sir Maurice, and God only knows the despair that filled me as I turned and left you. And so, Peter, perhaps to punish you a little, perhaps because I cannot bear the noisy world just yet, perhaps because I fear you a little, I've run away. But I remember also how, believing me guilty, you loved me still, and gave yourself up to shield me, and dying of hunger and fatigue, came to find me. And so, Peter, I've not run so very far, nor hidden myself so very close, and if you understand me as you should, your search need not be so very long. And, dear, dear Peter, there's just one other thing, which I hoped that you would guess, which anyone would have guessed, but which, being a philosopher, you never did guess. Oh, Peter, I was once, very long ago it seems, Sophia Charmain Sefton. But I am now, and always was, your humble person, Charmain." The letter fell from my fingers, and I remained staring before me so long that Sir Richard came and laid his hand on my shoulder. "Oh, boy," said he very tenderly, "she has told me all the story, and I think, Peter, it is given to very few men to win the love of such a woman as this." "God knows it," said I. "And to have married one so very noble and high in all things, you should be very proud, Peter." "I am," said I. "Oh, I am, sir." "Even, Peter, even though she be a virago, this Lady Sophia, or a termagant." "I was a great fool in those days," said I, hanging my head, "and very young." "It was only 6 months ago, Peter." "But I am years older today, sir." "And the husband of the most glorious woman, the most— oh, curse me, Peter, if you deserve such a goddess." "And she worked for me," said I, "cooked and served and mended my clothes." "Where are they?" I cried, and sprang out of bed. "What the deuce—" began Sir Richard. "My clothes," said I, looking vainly about. "My clothes. Pray, Sir Richard, where are they?" "Burnt, Peter." "Burnt?" "Every blood-stained rag," he nodded. "Her orders." "But what am I to do?" Sir Richard laughed, and crossing to the press, opened the door. "Here are all the things you left behind you when you set out to dig and, egad, make your fortune. I couldn't let 'em go with all the rest, so I had them brought here to keep them for you, ready for the time when you should grow tired of digging and come back to me and, oh, damn it, you understand. Granger's waiting to see you in the library. Been there hours. So dress yourself. In heaven's name, dress yourself," he cried, and hurried from the room. It was with a certain satisfaction that I once more donned buckskin and spurred boots, and noticed moreover how tight my coat was become across my shoulders. Yet I dressed hastily, for my mind was already on the road, galloping to Charmain. In the library I found Sir Richard and Mr. Granger, who greeted me with his precise little bow. "I have to congratulate you, Sir Peter," he began, "not only on your distinguished marriage and accession to fortune, but upon the fact that the unpleasantness connecting a certain Peter Smith with your unfortunate cousin's late decease has been entirely removed by means of the murderer's written confession, placed in my hands some days ago by the Lady Sophia." "A written confession? And she brought it to you?" "Galloped all the way from Tunbridge, by Gad," nodded Sir Richard. "It seems," pursued Mr. Granger, "that the man, John Strickland by name, lodged with a certain preacher, to whom, in Lady Vibart's presence, he confessed his crime, and unwillingly wrote out a deposition to that effect. It also appears that the man, sick though he was, wandered from the preacher's cottage, and was eventually found upon the road, and now lies in Maidstone jail in a dying condition." Chancing presently to look from the window, I beheld a groom who led a horse up and down before the door, and the groom was Adam, and the horse. I opened the window, and leaning out, called a name. At the sound of my voice the man smiled and touched his hat, and the mare ceased her pawing and chafing, and turned upon me a pair of great soft eyes, and snuffed the air, and whinnied. So I leapt out of the window and down the steps, and thus it was that I met Wings. "She be in the pinker condition, sir," said Adam proudly. "Sir Richard bought her." "For a song," added the baronet, who with Mr. Granger had followed to bid me good-bye. "I really got her remarkably cheap," he explained, thrusting his fists deep into his pockets and frowning down upon my thanks. But when I had swung myself into the saddle, he came and laid his hand upon my knee. "You're going to find her, Peter?" "Yes, sir." "And you know where to look?" "I think so. Because if you don't, I might—" "I shall go to a certain cottage," said I tentatively. "Then you'd better go, boy. The mare's all excitement. Good-bye, Peter, and cutting up my gravel most damnably. Good-bye." So saying, he reached up and gripped my hand very hard, and stared at me also very hard, though the tears stood in his eyes. "I always felt very fatherly towards you, Peter, and you won't forget the lonely old man. Come and see me now and then, both of you, for it does get damnably lonely here sometimes. Oh, no, curse it. Good-bye, dear lad." So he turned and walked up the steps into his great lonely house. "O Wings, with thy slender grace and tireless strength, if ever thou didst gallop before, do thy best to-day. Spurn the dust neath thy fleet hoofs, stretch thy graceful Arab neck, bear me gallantly to-day, O Wings, for never shalt thou and I see its like again." Swift we flew, with the wind before and the dust behind, past wayside inns where besmocked figures paused in their grave discussions to turn and watch us by, past smiling field and darkling copse, past lonely cottage and village green, through Sevenoaks and Tunbridge with never a stop, up Pembury Hill and down, galloping so lightly, so easily over that hard familiar road which I had lately tramped with so much toil and pain. And so, as evening fell, to Sissinghurst. A dreamy, sleepy place is Sissinghurst at all times, for its few cottages, like its inn, are very old, and great age begets dreams. But when the sun is low and the shadows creep out, when the old inn blinks drowsy eyes at the cottages and they blink back drowsily at the inn, like the old friends they are, when distant cows low at gates and fences, when cheap bells tinkle faintly, when the weary toiler, seated sideways on his weary horse, fares homewards, nodding sleepily with every plodding hoofful, but rousing to give one a drowsy good night, then who can resist the somnolent charm of the place, save only the bull himself, snorting down in lofty contempt, as rolling of eye, as curly of horn, as stiff as to tail as any indignant bull ever was, or shall be? But as I rode, watching the evening deepen about me, soft and clear rose the merry chime of hammer and anvil, and turning aside to the smithy, I paused there, and stooping my head, looked in at the door. "George," said I. He started erect, and dropping hammer and tongs, came out running, then stopped suddenly, as one abashed. "Oh, friend," said I, "don't you know me?" "Why, Peter," he stammered, and broke off. "Have you no greeting for me, George?" I heard you was free, Peter, and I was glad because you was the man as I loved, and I waited. I've been waiting for you to come back." But now you be so changed, so fine and grand, and I be all black with soot from the fire. Oh, man, you be my Peter no more." "Never say that, George, never say that," I cried, and leaping from the saddle, I would have caught his hand in mine, but he drew back. "You be so fine and grand, Peter, and I be all sooty from the fire," he repeated. "I'd like to just wash me hands first." "Oh, Black George," said I, "dear George." "Be you rich now, Peter?" "Yes, I suppose so." "A gentleman with horses and houses and servants?" "Well, what of it?" I'd like to wash me hands first, if so be you don't mind, Peter." "George," said I, "don't be a fool." Now, as we stood thus, fronting each other in the doorway, I heard a light step upon the road behind me, and turning, beheld Prudence. "Oh, Prue, George is afraid of my clothes, and won't shake hands with me." For a moment she hesitated, looking from one to the other of us. Then all at once, laughing a little and blushing a little, she leaned forward and kissed me. "Why, George," said she, still blushing, "how foolish you be! Mr. Peter were as much a gentleman in his leather apron as ever he is in his fine coat. How foolish you be, George!" So proud George gave me his hand, all grimy as it was, rejoicing over me because of my good fortune, and mourning over me because my smithing days were over. "You see, Peter, when men has worked together, and sorrowed together, and fought together, and knocked each other down, like you and me, it ain't so easy to say good-bye. So, if you must leave us, why, don't let's say it." "No, George, there shall be no good-byes for either one of us, and I shall come back soon. Until then, take my mare, have her made comfortable for me, and now, good night, good night." And so, clasping their loving hands, I turned away somewhat hurriedly and left them. There was no moon, but the night was luminous with stars, and as I strode along my eyes were often lifted to the wonder of the heavens, and I wondered which particular star was Charmain's and which mine. Reaching the hollow, I paused to glance about me as I ever did before descending that leafy path, and the shadows were very black, and a chill wind stirred among the leaves, so that I shivered and wondered for the first time if I'd come right, if the cottage had been in Charmain's mind when she wrote. Then I descended the path, hurrying past a certain dark spot. And coming at last within sight of the cottage, I paused again and shivered again, for the windows were dark and the door shut. But the latch yielded readily beneath my hand, so I went in and closed and barred the door behind me. For upon the hearth a fire burned with a dim red glow that filled the place with shadows, and the shadows were very deep. "Charmain," said I. "Oh, Charmain, are you there? Have I guessed right?" I heard a rustle close beside me, and in the gloom came a hand to meet and clasp my own, wherefore I stooped and kissed those slender fingers, drawing her into the firelight, and her eyes were hidden by their lashes, and the glow of the fire seemed reflected in her cheeks. "The candles were so bright, Peter," she whispered. "Yes." "And so, when I heard you coming—" "You heard me?" "I was sitting on the bench outside, Peter." "And when you heard me, you put the candles out?" "They seemed so very bright, Peter." "And shut the door?" "I only just closed it, Peter." She was still wrapped in her cloak as she had been when I first saw her, wherefore I put back the hood from her face. And behold, as I did so, her hair fell down, rippling over my arm, and covering us both in its splendour, as it had done once before. "Indeed, you have glorious hair," said I. "It seems wonderful to think that you are my wife. I can scarcely believe it, even yet." "Why, I meant you should marry me from the first, Peter." "Had you? Do you think I should ever have come back to this dear solitude otherwise?" Now, when I would have kissed her, she turned her head aside. "Peter." "Yes, Charmain." "The Lady Sophia Sefton never did gallop her horse up the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral." "Didn't she, Charmain?" "And she couldn't help her name being bandied from mouth to mouth or hiccuped out over slopping wine-glasses, could she?" "No," said I, frowning. "What a young fool I was!" "And Peter—" "Well, Charmain?" "She never was, and never will be, buxom or strapping, will she? Buxom is such a hateful word, Peter. And you love her? Wait, Peter, as much as ever you loved Charmain Brown?" "Yes," said I. "Yes." "And nearly as much as your dream woman? More, much more, because you are the embodiment of all my dreams. You always will be, Charmain. Because I honour you for your intellect, and worship you for your gentleness and spotless purity, and love you with all my strength for your warm, sweet womanhood, and because you are so strong and beautiful and proud, and because, Peter, because I am just your loving, humble person. And thus it was I went forth a fool, and toiled and suffered and loved, and in the end got me some little wisdom. And thus did I, all unworthy as I am, win the heart of a noble woman, whose love I pray will endure, even as mine will, when we shall have journeyed to the end of this broad highway, which is life, and into the mystery of the beyond. End of chapter 47. End of The Broad Highway by John Jeffery Farnol.